1830 was a year of revolution in Europe. Belgium, France, Switzerland, and in Greece, the struggle to independence from the Ottoman Empire was finally successful. And in this dramatic year, Poland was no exception. In this programme, we look at the November 1830 revolution, which gave the Poles 9 months of freedom, of independence, the only 9 months they had between the third partition of Poland in 1795 and the re-emergence of the Polish state after the First World War in 1918. Join us on Poland Daily History for this dramatic story. Welcome to Poland Daily History with me, Nicholas Richardson. 1830 was a year of revolutions in Europe, including in Poland. I'm here in the studio with Dominik Szczęsny-Kostanecki to discuss Poland's 1830 revolution. Dominik, welcome to the studio.
Many thanks.
Thank you for joining us. So I think it's probably worth starting with a bit of background. Poland, after the third partition in 1795, essentially disappeared from the map of Europe for the next 123 years. During the Napoleonic Wars in 1807, the Duchy of Warsaw was set up. The Congress of Vienna in 1815, at the end of the Napoleonic Wars, set up the Congress Kingdom, which was essentially a much smaller version of Poland, a kingdom which was actually interestingly united with Russia in the sense of the Russian monarch was essentially the Polish monarch. That takes us to 1815. How from there did we get to the revolution in 1830?
This is a complicated process. What we have to remember is that the Russians, or the Russian Tsar, promised the Polish people a lot in the constitution. I mean, it was in 1815, and I'm not joking here, it was the most liberal constitution in Europe, on paper.
Right.
There was a saying after a few years have elapsed that the constitution, there is a constitution on the table, but there is a lash under the table.
Right.
And that's essentially the thing. So it was either the law wasn't obeyed. I mean, the Russian officials didn't obey their own laws, constitution, and so on and so on, or they would cross out certain, paragraphs from the acts of law, in order to have a better control over the Polish society.
Because I think I'm right in saying that Tsar Alexander himself didn't actually bother to crown himself as King of Poland, and sent his brother, Grand Duke Constantine, as a sort of viceroy.
There was, his brother, Grand Duke Constantine, he became the commander of the Polish army. There was a certain viceroy, as you say, a position, but that was taken by the General Zajączek, a Napoleonic general.
Okay.
And that was official. So it was stated in the constitution that while the Tsar is abroad, that is to say, he is not in Poland, in his name, this, as you say, viceroy is having power. But it was illusionary, because it were the Russian officials who were more important than the Polish viceroy.
And then I think it's fair to say they sort of gradually started imposing their will in terms of, for example, I think it was about 1819, sort of press censorship came in. Much
A bit later, but, but you are correct.
And then introducing their own idea of the secret police, something the Russians have never sort of lost a talent for.
And Russia, secret police, but the problem is that not one. I mean, there were, you know, there was a number of secret policies, if we may say so. We were very interested in controlling what's happening at the University of Warsaw. We have to say that the University of Warsaw is established at that time after the Congress of Vienna.
Right.
So it's a relatively young university. It's not Uniwersytet Jagielloński in Kraków,
No,
which
that's
dates
right.
back to the 14th century. The students were the very group where you know, liberal ideas, conspiracy actions would take place. So universities were naturally, both in Warsaw and in Vilnius, were the aim of those secret policies.
Right. And so this situation continues, and then we get to essentially to, there's a new Tsar, I think, in 1825, Nicholas, who's also the brother of Alexander, becomes the Tsar. He, I think, actually, is it in 1829, he's actually crowned as King of Poland.
Yes, and at that time there was a plot to. We don't know much about this plot because it was secret. This plot to probably kill the Tsar in 1829 was described in Słowacki's poem Kordian, the coronation plot.
Right.
It was called, but it was a washout. I mean, nothing happened at that time, and 1 year later, as you mentioned, so in 1830. The proper uprising breaks out.
And this was due, I think, probably to a combination of factors. One, this general radical view of life.
It's always a combination
and also, I think, also the fact, wasn't it, that there was some degree of reluctance to being part of the Polish army, which was going to be sent by the Russians to help crush the Belgian and French revolutions of 1830.
That was the immediate
yes.
reason. But there are others, not commonly raised up. One of them is the success of the Greek uprising. I mean, the fact that the Greeks managed to win their independence
from the Ottoman Empire at that time
was very inspiring for Polish patriots and plotters.